Hello everyone and welcome to our next lesson on Excel. This is Excel lesson 12, so don't be tricked by the name at the top of this document. You should be opening the most recent version of your Superstore document that we were just using in when we looked at pivot tables. And today we're going to expand on pivot tables and look at charts. Now, you don't have to work with pivot tables in order to do charts, and you don't have to do charts in order to do pivot tables either or, but working with pivot tables is kind of a nifty way to combine the two things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a new pivot table. So you probably have down here some kind of sheet that already has a pivot table on it. That's fine. We're going to create a new additional table. So we're going to go to Insert, Pivot Table, select the whole range, and this is going to be on a new worksheet. And here's what we want to do to select, here's the fields that we want to use. So we want profit, and we're going to go by region. So very simple profit by region outline. So now that we've got a small table with a little bit of data in this, and this is, I guess here's the key point, charts work best when you have a reasonably small amount of data that you want to display in some kind of fashion. So charts work best as a visual aid for understanding specific comparisons. So here we're going to insert, going back to our insert, and we're going to hit recommended charts. So we'll select our area, hit recommended charts, and now it's suggesting that we do some kind of bar graph. Now we have a number of options. We can also do line graphs. Now a line graph doesn't make a lot of sense. A line graph is best to chart profit over time of a single region because it implies that there's a connection, like somehow Nunavut, like someone went to Nunavut and things went bad. Like that doesn't make a lot of sense either. But we could do pie chart. So let's actually do a pie chart. And so under pie chart at the top here, we have some selectable graphs. We're not going to look at the pie of a pie. I like the 3D pie the best. We'll hit OK. And so this chart, and I'm holding down the Shift key as I drag this bottom corner, so as you can see, it keeps its shape. Otherwise, it'll get stretched. So here we have a simple chart, and we're going to title it Profit by Region. Now, from here, if we wanted to, we could actually exclude a region. If we wanted to get rid of Atlantic altogether, it would change what's in here. So it applies a filter, so you can see the little filter, manual filters here. It also applied a filter as visible here in our pivot chart. So applying this one filter here applies a filter across all of the things that rely on this data set. So there we go. And now we have a very simple, a very attractive chart, basically, that is completely functional. We just had to do a quick rename, but the fields, like this little what do you call it, legend here on the right hand side, it already has things pre-titled for us. They're very, very simple. And now that we've selected the type of chart that we want, we can go up in here and go into chart styles and select something that's maybe a little more visually appealing based on whatever looks best. I kind of like this one. It gives percentages also. It's a little bit 3D. Poor Nunavut. Smallest percentage of sales. They've profited $3,000. I somehow think that store will be closing. Just a thought. So there we have it. We have profit by region. We could also do another chart here. We're going to insert a new pivot table. And when we're inserting a table in this way, we're going to have to go back to our orders, make sure we select all. I've just hit Control A to select all, and it filled my field here. And I hit OK. And this new pivot table, we are now going to go sales by product. Well, we could do subcategory. Now let's do product subcategory. I wonder what product container is. Oh, it's the box that it ships in. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, we won't do that. So product subcategory. So now I've got, maybe we won't do sales. Maybe we'll do profit instead of sales. I always like looking at profit because sales don't really mean anything if you're not making money, right? Now, here, a bar pie chart's not going to make a lot of sense because we have some negative numbers. Okay, so obviously there's been some losses on the sale of scissors, rulers, and trimmers. That's right, trimmers. Hot product, maybe they're being stolen, who knows? Or they just aren't selling at all and need to be sold at a loss. So doing a pie chart of this data is not going to be particularly helpful, because if we do go for a pie chart like this, let's do 3D pie. I'm just going to expand this chart so we can take a better look at it. This doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, a negative number can't take up part of the pie graph, which means it doesn't exist. So that's not a great option for us. How about if we go insert, what chart does it recommend? It recommends a type of bar graph. And this one I like. We've got a couple of options that will show us negative numbers. Like that. Now that's a percentage. We don't want to do a percentage. Clustered, stacked, and we don't want percentages because that doesn't make sense in this case. So let's do this one, this bar graph here, and we expand it, and now we have some understanding of what items are bringing us in the most profit. So you can see we're taking a loss on some things. So this is the reason why it's nice to have a bar graph, is you can see where the real big money makers are and where the money losers are. And once again, our pivot table here has supplied all of the titles that we need for our pie chart. Once again, also we can go to design and pick something that just looks a little nicer. It's up to you which one you go with, honestly. Ooh, that's kind of cool. I always like dark stuff. I don't know why. But I mean, stuff like this is actually almost difficult to read. In the right circumstance, it might be useful. But let's not use that one. And you can see with these ones, we're getting an actual total listed in here. It's in a white font, so I don't really like it that much. I can also access the style of this chart by hitting the Chart Styles button here, which is the same as the Chart Styles up here. You can also change the color swatch to more monochromatic or multichromatic, if we like. So this is, very similar to what you would have been doing in Microsoft Word for changing things like font colors and all that sort of business, but we just have a little bit of different elements that we're controlling. We're not just controlling titles and that sort of thing. Speaking of titles, this is not a useful title. It just says total. So what we want is profit by, what do we call it? By product subcategory. Great. So now we've got a couple of charts that are summarizing data in a very useful fashion. So obviously you can use charts to summarize data of any type. If you can have things summarize, things that exist in rows and columns, you can pretty much put them into some form of chart. Now, not everything can be summarized this way. It is possible that by having too much data that you'll overwhelm a chart and you'll end up with complete, utter bananas nonsense. And it's also possible for you to pick a chart that makes no sense whatsoever. So once again, an example of this would be if you were to create a line graph. Okay, a line graph makes no sense. It would be useful if it was like profit over time, but this isn't time. This is profit by item. So the line graph implies that there's a connection between these data points when there really isn't. So one of the important things is that you're selecting the right data to turn into a chart, and that you're using a type of chart that adequately describes what it is that you want to show, right? So you've already spent some time playing around with pivot charts. Now try to make a few pivot charts or pivot tables, and then make some graphs and charts out of them. But make sure that you've got these two graphs submitted as part of your document. So you're going to save this document again and now add it to your Lesson 11 section of your OneNote. And that's it for today's lesson. So I hope that was fairly straightforward, and I hope you have a lot of or find a lot of uses for graphs and charts, because I know I like visually appealing things, and they can be really cool to hand in with projects. So thanks a lot. We'll see you next time.